It is lights out and away we go. Hello, racers. Welcome to episode 36 of the Harder Soft F1 podcast. We're back for another episode. I'm your host, Adrian Huff, and I'm joined by my co-host, RJ McCullough. Now, RJ, it is a celebratory weekend for you, so I'm just gonna let you take it from here. Just like hit me with your thoughts.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, you had a full season of wins, being on top, just fun every weekend. Now, finally, Mercedes is back, Red Bull's falling apart. It's good. So aside from Lewis not winning, I mean, he got second, but that was the only thing that could have been a little bit better. But yeah, that was a great weekend. But we'll obviously get into that. We got lots of rumors, lots of cheating allegations. What else we got? One thing I want to say first, though, to Max Verstappen. He is temporarily not allowed to come on the Harder Soft podcast. I don't condone his behavior. I'm taking a stand, and until next season begins, Max Verstappen not allowed to come on this podcast.
RJ,
sorry about that, Max.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Do you have anything you want to
now?
add to
I know
that?
you probably didn't intend this, but that is a low key brilliant way to get him to actually come on our show, because I don't think he will be planning on it anytime soon. But if you tell him, hey, you're not allowed, he may want to. So Max, me and you can have a one-on-one episode, and we'll just put a little loop of RJ just stewing, just being angry. But besides that, that's the plan. I don't even know how to formulate my thoughts or even articulate my thoughts, because it feels like, I mean, I was working a lot this weekend, and I was luckily able to watch most of the race and most of the sprint, which was nice. More of the race, which I preferred. But yeah, I mean, I was on my phone the whole time, and you were also texting me, and it just felt like something new was happening the whole weekend, even after the race. I mean, even right now, things are still happening. I mean, if we had recorded yesterday, we'll get into it, but we would not have heard about a couple of different things that we're going to be discussing. So, but first, before we get into our opening news, is there any other? I guess we can save it for our little when we discuss Mercedes more in depth later. I was going to ask you if you had any more things to say, but I guess we can save it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to say, I did have another victory this weekend that we will also get to later.
Not
but
good.
The Harder Soft Constructors League, it's over. I have claimed victory in that, so I can.
Fuck.
That's one notch on the belt for me. So
I'm not mad that I'm having to come to Canada. I'm just mad that I lost, because I even texted you. I was like, bro, it is over for me. Both red. I mean, I only have Max for the Red Bulls, but Max is down. Charles is not looking great, but all of your drivers, are just killing it. So it's over. And
yes. It was a great weekend for me. Also, my mom bought me this Lewis shirt from when they did the Japan drop of the merch. So I'm just
dude, it's sick.
Here,
I was gonna wait and let you bring it up, but I fucking love it. Lewis has got by far the best style on the grid. I think that's obvious. Even in that picture I sent you of all the drivers, somebody made a really funny comment. They were like, Lewis is your character in a video game cutscene. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's all just simple looking white boys. And
I know, dude.
Lewis,
I swear to God, I feel like
and
I know you're the Lewis fan, but Lewis is just he only does things that make me like him more, as time goes on. There's even when you look back at some of his more things that people may point to say that are negative about him are nothing in comparison to our current champion, which we'll also get into. But he is just I mean, definitely the classiest driver on the grid, I'd have to say. But enough. Yeah, definitely. But we will get back to them, but we can talk about some people a little bit lower on the grid. Should we start with Haas?
Yeah, so I mean, the thing we've known it's coming for a while, but finally was officially was kind of interesting the way it came out, I guess. Like, Schumacher announced he was leaving Haas, and then like 20, 30 minutes later, Haas made the official announcement that Hulkenburg was their driver for next year. So, I mean, he was, for those that aren't too familiar with Nico, obviously we had the clip that we put out. It's kind of going, I'm sure it's not our clip that's going to be viral, but the clip itself is going to be viral of those two, Hulkenburg and Magnussen. That's the one. So I just pulled up Hulkenberg's like career stats, and I guess I can do this with all the other guys that are leaving after this year. But so over the course of 11 years, seasons, basically 9, he's done 181 F1 races, 0 wins, 0 podiums, 1 pole in his first season. And like his average finish is for his career 11.5. So I mean, it's not like he's been an absolute barn burner. He's better in quality than he is in races, but like I don't know.
Yeah, he's a lesser Bottas.
It's not like it's kind of
honestly.
A weird
I like Nico a lot. You know, if you watch Drive to Survive, you'll sort of know that like when he first came to Formula One, he was sort of considered to be like, hey, this could be the next guy. Like he is like world champion material, but he sadly was not able to translate that due to, you know, whatever those reasons may be. But, you know, he got some decent results, him and Daniel at Renault. But it is an interesting choice to bring him back. I don't think it's like a unsafe, it's like a super safe, boring choice. But I mean, people are like really clowning on Haas, which I get it. I love Mick. I would have loved if Mick stayed, but it's not like a dumb decision. I know it's more exciting to bring in another rookie or to keep Mick, but I mean, Kevin bringing him back has been nothing but like good things. And also, you know, I feel like there's more to gain potentially with like Nico coming to Haas and doing well. And also the dynamic between him and Kevin, their sort of like friendship redemption or teammate redemption, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't think people are really considering that, but I do get it. It's boring, but I'm personally like not super upset about it because I'm just hoping that we can see the two of them like actually bring Haas sort of to where they were 2018 era without all the reliability issues.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for where they are and where they're trying to go as a team. I think, like, the disappointment comes from Mick not being, like, if this is the end of his F1 career, that would be disappointing. But I think he's going to be reserve driver for Mercedes next year, so at least he'll still be around, hopefully. And then who's to say he won't come back in the future? But, yeah, it makes sense. I think they kind of want to get out of the teaching young drivers and instead have drivers that are able to maybe maximize the weekends, which they make sense. There's such a big difference in money you make depending on where you finish, and they've been at the bottom for a while. So I guess it makes sense. Who knows how long it'll actually last? Like, it probably won't be, I don't know, I didn't see how long his contract is. I can imagine it won't be longer than 2 years.
Kevin signed for 2 something like, was it 2?
Yeah. I think he was 2.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll renew because you actually made a really good point there, is that Haas has never been the type to train rookies and bring them in. You know, Mick sort of was the longest, you know, most, I mean, they put the most effort and time into, you know, building him as a driver. But, you know, they've always had, you know, good, or not, you know, obviously they're all good, but like experienced, more older, I guess, drivers, just not rookies is what I'm trying to say. But I don't know, it makes perfect sense to me. You know, you've got Magnussen and Hulkenberg. I mean, it's just very similar to Grosjean and Magnussen. Yeah, just same as back then. So Magnussen. I'm pumped.
Yeah. It's, the grid next year is setting up for, like, there's not really any, like, Latifis, for lack of a better. Like, it looks like pretty much most
we'll
of
see who
the
Williams replaces Latifi with.
Here, so, like, we'll see how if Logan Sargent gets his super license.
When is? That's this weekend, isn't it? We're gonna find out.
Driver, but
yeah, I need to look up when that is actually, because I'm very curious.
I'm pretty sure, it's because they do their finale same.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Like at Abu Dhabi, right? I'm pretty sure. So.
But yes,
right, lots something to look forward to.
Hulkenberg's going to Haas. Mick is out. Mick is not the only driver. that's leaving this year. We have 4 drivers out of 20 that will not be starting drivers next year. That's Mick Schumacher, Nicholas Latifi. We do not know who will be replacing him. We will know after the IndyCar finale, of course, if Sargent is able to get his super license, like RJ just said. Ricciardo is out. He'll be a reserve driver for Red Bull, I guess. Who knows? I think that's confirmed, but he'll be replaced by Oscar Piastri. Vettel will be replaced by Fernando Alonso, who is being replaced by Pierre Gasly, and Alpine, who's being replaced by Nick De Vries. So, yes, very exciting grid. It's like, I feel like this is sort of like stepping, like we sort of already dipped a toe into like these sort of next generation, but this is like we're in it, you know, like it full on change, because last year was like, obviously the Mazepin thing like shook things up a lot, but last year felt pretty similar to the year prior, to me at least. You know, this year we've got, you know, Bottas leaving, all these, you know, rookies, all this shit. Won't go into it anymore, but yeah, it just feels like next year is like really gonna be something special to me, because I'm just hoping we're not gonna just get another boring ass blowout. But yeah. I will stop there. Yeah,
it's shaping up that way. And just real quick, Logan Sargent, I think. Well, I know because I just looked it up. He's I did
misspoke.
F2, not AD.
Yeah, that was an error on me. Yeah, my bad. F2. Yeah.
All right, just want to clear that up. But yeah, so I think we should just quickly give these 4 guys. We don't know if they're going to be back. We'll give them their flowers real quick. First of all, we'll go Vettel, because that's probably the most emotional one. It looks like his actually could be a legitimate retirement. So just quick, he has been in F1 for 16 years, 299 races, 53 wins, 122 podiums.
Yep.
4-time world champ. So yeah, with Red Bull, Ferrari, obviously where he is now. So yeah, unbelievable. If there's, I don't know if there's a Hall of Fame.
He should be in the Hall of Fame of like motorsport in general. Yeah, he is like
motorsport, right? And yeah, just quick, going back to like his when he started, he was very much like a Max Verstappen, kind of a selfish. Like people were making a lot of comparisons to his incident with Mark Webber, kind of similar, but
you think so?
Actually worse.
I think Vettel's is worse, like maybe worse than like how it was done, but I think I don't know. I feel like Vettel was like fighting for his championship, whereas Max was fighting for, you know, P6 after he's already won. Just to me.
Yeah, but I think Seb was so far in a way gone, and like he kind of had to give his teammate a bone. But anyways, that's probably a debate for another day. But I guess just like how pissed off Weber was. But then like definitely the the aftermath of this one is bigger. But anyways, yeah, he kind of started out as like a bit of a brat, but now like he's completely changed. He's just the nicest guy on the grid. Maybe other than Lewis, but yeah, just I know you really like Seb, obviously, especially as a Rebel fan. So yeah, what's your like when you think of Sebastian Vettel? What is Adrian Huff?
You know, he's the sort of he's Red Bull's baby, which, you know, he's much more than that. You know, obviously his championships were with Red Bull, but I mean talk about like Formula One legend. It is going to be, I mean, it's like, this is like Lewis Hamilton level, maybe like I don't know. We need to stop comparing those two, but like it is I mean, I'm more personally like sad that he's leaving than like Daniel, or like when for example, like other like F1 legends, when like Fernando retires. Like Seb is the guy. Like, man, he's the shit. Like everybody fucking loves Seb. So it's just a bummer that he's gone, but you know, he fucking, that dude deserves, you know, some time away from racing and from the media, or even if he wants to just go and, you know, do some other type of racing and, you know, fuck around and crush, you know, wherever he goes, like whatever, like the dude deserves it. 299 GPs is a fucking milestone, and I hope that one day that could maybe cross over to 300, but I mean, maybe it means more to him that it stays at 299, who knows. But yeah, like definitely sad that like Daniel is leaving, of course, and potentially may not return, who knows. But yeah, Seb is by far the most, you know, sad, devastating retirement. I'm so excited for what they do at the end of Abu Dhabi, however it pans out. I want to see Lewis and Fernando and Seb doing donuts. Like, we gotta see that shit, bro. We gotta. So it's gonna be tough. But I'm again pumped for the future, and I know he's ready to take a break. So I hope he enjoys his time.
Yeah, it seems like they're turning over a bit of a new leaf with all these young guys coming in, but that seems to be a good thing. Yeah, Lewis said today, I don't know if he was joking, probably a little bit tongue-in-cheek, that he thinks Seb will be back at some point. So
yeah, right.
We'll see. I mean, Fernando did it.
You never know.
Seb could do it. Who knows? We'll see.
Danny Rick.
The next, Danny Rick.
Fuck shit
Mr.
on
Netflix. Yeah, another guy that came in hot. Yeah. And sort of his star has faded. 12 years, 232 races. It's quite a bit, too. 8 wins, 32 podiums, 3 poles. All in all, obviously solid career, but just kind of fell off. His most wins, 3 in 2014, and then he's only had 1 since... He had 2 in 2018, and only had 1 since then last year. And Monza, obviously, so... Yeah, a little bit disappointing, but we all love him for his personality, not necessarily his racing. It'd be nice to see him race better, but he kind of got everyone into F1 in North America. So, yeah, and it's going to be kind of sad. I'm sure he'll have some good messages on his radio, but yeah, I think it's one of those things that just hasn't been officially reported, but everyone's saying he's going to be with Red Bull next year as a reserve driver. So he won't necessarily be gone. I'm sure he'll be around in some capacity, but definitely not the way we saw Danny Rick's career going a couple years ago.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks that his career is not getting, the Vettel treatment, even though Danny obviously was never able to fight for a championship. But it still sucks. I hope we see him come back. He was, it is just crazy. I don't think anybody expected, just how much it didn't work out with McLaren, because, I mean, he was like top 5 drivers with Renault. So I don't think anybody would tell you that Daniel was not a top 5 driver 2 or 3 years ago. So it's definitely a big bummer, but it's going to be cool to hopefully see him in some Red Bull gear again. Some people are clowning him, saying that he's like crawling back, but I mean, like, come on, man. You do what you got to do to stay in the sport. Like, come on. Like, we're not going to clown the guy, but I hope he has the chance to get back in the car, and depending on how this Max and Sergio shit works out, we may. He
may put himself right in the perfect spot.
But even if it's in 2024, who knows? But still,
right.
He did.
And he drove that car well before, and get back with Adrian Newey and kind of take some time, pressure off, get back into his driving style.
Couldn't have said it better.
You never know. There we go. So the other two, real quick.
Latifi. The GOAT.
Latifi, 3 years, 61 races. Obviously no wins, podium, or poles. Mick, 2 years, 43 races. Also no wins, podiums, or
What about lifetime points?
Latifi, I don't have that listed here. Probably pull that up. But Latifi probably best remembered for starting the chaos in Abu Dhabi last year. And which I know every spin we can go back now through the last few years and question based on what Carlos Sainz said today. Yeah. Another teaser for something we're going to get to, but also Latifi, also best known for meeting me in Montreal at the hotel. So just great memories of Nicholas Latifi. It'll be sad to see him leave, but not that sad. Maybe he'll go to IndyCar and do a little better there. Who knows? And then Mick, I don't know. Another interesting thing, I typed in on this website, Racing Reference. I just typed like the name to pull up the driver. I typed in Schumacher, thinking like, okay, it'll be like, guess how many Schumachers there were when I typed in Schumacher in this
I only know
Reference
3,
website.
but I'm sure it's much more than that.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be 3, maybe 4, because I know Mick has like a cousin or something, but there's 7. Yeah, 7 Schumachers in
Imagine being the worst.
Motorsports over the time. So, anyways, I don't know. That's tough. That is tough. I don't know. Nothing really Oh, he was born in Switzerland. Oh, home Switzerland. Okay. Interesting. For Mick. Yeah, I don't know. Mick, what would you think Mick's career highlight would be? Getting points this year. He had a couple good battles with Max. He was great in the documentary about his dad. I don't know, like, unfortunate sort of. Hopefully it just doesn't seem like the end. He's still really young. He's born in 1999,
yeah,
so he's like 20.
I don't. Yeah, if not in F1, he has a career in some sort of motorsport. Like, no doubt about that. Yeah, right. And he's like, without a doubt, the top 3 most popular Schumacher racers. So, for sure, his name is going to keep in the echelon of motorsport.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll say goodbye to those guys this weekend. Definitely, I've already seen all the drivers had like a night for Seb last night. Pretty cool pictures and stuff they're putting out. But yeah, on to what was. I know we're prone to hyperbole. We do have a podcast, but I'd say, like, off the top of my head, that was the best, at least race weekend, on that, like, everything encompassing that came with it, from quality to the sprint to the actual race, and then everything since the race. I think that's probably the best. F1 race weekend of the season. And just like Sao Paulo, every year it's great. So I know it's neither one of our necessarily favorite tracks, but I think this weekend probably solidifies as that's probably like the best F1 track. Like, if they could do like 3 races there a year, that'd be like the sprint. It sets up perfectly the sprint race, everything. Yeah, so that
I was just gonna say, it's so much fun. Like, even as an amateur F1 player, it is a blast. And it always makes for good racing. Like, no matter if it's wet, dry, whatever the hell, it is always good fucking racing, even afterwards. Which it does.
It sparks drama.
There's like always drama there. I mean, you go all the way back to 2008 or 2008 with.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yes. That is. And also, didn't Fernando Alonso also lost his championship there as well? So there's just like been. Am I wrong about that, or is that because I could have sworn it was Brazil? Yeah, it's
they used to have the finale
prone
there, so
for excellence, I think, is a good way to say it. So
yeah, I think, I mean, if our podcast ever gets to the level where we're ever in a meeting with anyone from F1, I'm sure we're not the only ones that hold this opinion, but I'm sure they get a lot of money from Abu Dhabi, and that's why they have the finale there. But I guess next year Brazil will be the 3rd last race because they're sliding Vegas in there. For the sake of the sport, I think Brazil needs to be the finale, because, like, imagine if we ever have a year again like last year and actually coming down to it's just the best races every single year, no matter what. Although I guess there could be a case to be made, as I'm opposing the point I just made. Maybe having it a little earlier makes it still in the running for, like, before the championships decided. I don't know, but it would be cool to have the finale. Can you go back and watch, like, the I forgot the guy's first name, tossed, like, the Hamilton when the guy car, like, conked out on the last lap, and Massey thought he won and he was celebrating, but then the guy stopped on the last lap, and then Lewis Hamilton passed, so he got enough points to win the championship. Just, like, so cool seeing those scenes, as opposed to, and, like, the fans are so into it, whereas Abu Dhabi, it's like, it just doesn't have the feel, I guess, and I'm always going to have that sour taste in my mouth every single year.
Absolutely. I mean, last year aside, I do not like. I will always have, like, God, this is going to sound so terrible, but I do not like any of the races in the Middle East. I mean, it just doesn't lend itself to racing very well. Abu Dhabi definitely has a place on the calendar, though, that I am definitely not trying to say take that off. But I just think there's too many, but that's a whole separate issue. Definitely don't need to. Yeah.
Qatar, Jeddah,
Bahrain, and then you've got. I don't know if that's technically Middle East. It could be. I'm a fucking moron, but yeah, that aside, Brazil for sure would be an amazing choice to bring back to be the finale. And I'm a little pissed that Brazil's getting overtaken by Vegas to be the second to last finale. I don't like that. I don't want to go from Brazil to Vegas. Let's go from Vegas to Brazil.
Yeah, that's gonna be a wild. Just, I mean, even people that aren't into F1 are already, like, saying that, like, Now that it's
It
actually
is,
a thing, like
for
F1
sure.
in Vegas is going to be insane. I just hope it goes well. Like, it's obviously going to be a scene, but like, we have lots of time.
No
in the
commoners
offseason to
allowed
discuss
at that
so
race.
Sorry with you. We've got. Oh God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, only rich ones.
Right.
I don't know if you can be a rich commoner, but.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've got a lot to discuss from this weekend, so let's get into it now. We're gonna start with Haas because right off the bat, the quali, obviously, rain disrupted the quali. And a bit of luck there, a lot of luck there, but Kevin Magnussen gets his pole. Just like one of the coolest scenes of the year. Him in the car when he first heard he was on like P1, and they're like, "You're kidding." And then just kind of waiting for it to happen, and then when it did happen,
he was like, "Don't celebrate, don't celebrate, please, don't
like,
do it." Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, it's just so cool. Like, you always like used to hear like Charles or whatever will just be like, "Yeah," or like Max sometimes be like, "Okay, good job, guys." But it was so cool to see like the genuine excitement. It was like he's a little kid.
Oh my God, without a doubt,
that was one of the coolest moments of the year. Yeah, but short-lived because lap one of the sprint he did his best, got past, but then lap one of the actual race got taken out by Ricciardo and then was stranded in the stands trying to get back. I don't know how this happened. No one sent something to pick him up. I guess he just had to.
Yeah, there was only one spot in the medical car, and
paddock,
Daniel jumped in, and they just didn't come back for him. So he actually he just walked back, and he ended up having to go through like an actual crowd of just fans to get back, which, you know, I mean,
crazy.
It's cool for those fans, but like, I mean, it's a fucking clown show. The FIA, what are you doing? Come on, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, that could have ended bad. Imagine if that was like, I don't know, if that was like one of the drivers that people don't like in a certain country that they're not liked in very much. I'm not gonna name any names.
Yeah, you never fucking know.
Bad if you have those situations happening. It's just not. You should
Absolutely
never have
not.
people walking through the fans. It's just dangerous. And then Mick, I don't remember much from Mick. I know he had a bad quali. He kind of made up some over the weekend. He finished 13th. That's about it for Haas. Most of their news is made off the track this weekend.
Sure.
I'm kind of going to go out of order.
I do want to say real quick that
anything else on Haas?
It was definitely a lot of luck, but Magnussen for sure deserved the pole. I mean, not only did he, set the fastest lap, but it was also like getting wetter and wetter. And I remember like watching it and seeing Magnussen at the front of all those drivers, and I briefly thought, I was like, if it starts raining, like, I didn't specifically think Magnussen, but I was like, just thinking to myself, like, gosh, if you're in the back of that line, like, you could get just fucked just by bad luck. So it's so cool that it ended up happening. But besides that, who we're skipping, we'll come back to them. Who are we moving on to?
Hold on one sec. I just wanted, because it ties in nicely to Ferrari, because they in quali they had the quality tire error where they put him out on intermediates, and just wasted any chance that they could have had to get on pole. So that was their first error. Then the sprint, Sainz did really well, but he got a grid penalty. And then during the race, surprisingly, another team that made more noise off the track after. But yeah, Leclerc, lap 7, he was hit by Lando. And then I guess what's curious, so Sainz ended up finishing 3rd, Leclerc fit 4th. But Leclerc is tied with Perez for 2nd in the overall standing. So a little curious to say that they didn't, that they also didn't do team orders. I guess the reasoning is maybe they were worried they'd be caught by the person behind them if they slowed down to let. But I mean, I don't know. So that's a little curious, but just kind of minuscule in the grand scheme of Ferrari errors this year. That one didn't even really cause a ripple. But yeah, so if there's anything you want to add on the race for Ferrari, the only other thing I have is that there was some sprinklings of some rumors that Binotto out, Vassar in. But I don't know. They're kind of putting water on that. It could be one of those things that happens after the year, but kind of causing a bit of a ripple online, and then some obviously emotional Italian fans, you could say, one way or the other. So yeah, any thoughts on another error from Ferrari and an okay weekend, but kind of another wasted opportunity to gain more points, put themselves ahead of Mercedes more,
Right.
and also
to their credit, I know they
Charles
have
in
done
second.
team orders before, but they do call themselves, or they don't call themselves, but they do sort of run on the line that they don't have a first and second driver. They just have two drivers. That's always sort of been their thing, even though that's not really true. It is also sort of true, because I do feel like if they sort of went all in on Charles, that they definitely could have potentially helped him get a little bit better results this year. But besides that, Binotto, them denying those rumors means nothing to me. It could definitely still happen, like you said. But I want their head strategist that's been there for decades gone. He needs to go. Get him out. Go away.
Well, yeah, there's also that rumor, I think we talked about it on text, that Charles hasn't really talked to Binotto
That
since
shit is mad.
Silverstone,
Did the
I think,
finger
when
wag.
so Binotto told him off in public. Yeah, so, I mean, if Charles is your long-term solution and he's your golden boy, then if he wants Binotto out, I think it's probably going to be that way. But, I mean, I don't know. Ferrari, you can never really predict with Ferrari. They're kind of
They always are.
Pardon me, they're just in shambles. So, what a wasted season.
Yeah, they are.
They're the discipline of the year.
Before we move on, I have forgotten to do this every week. And RJ, you cannot see me right now. Oh God, I'm putting my mic down. I want to show this car that I painted. We went and did some pottery, and I made an HOS car with my initials on the front. It's got HOS, obviously.
Can't see it,
hard or
but
soft. It's nice. It's not an F1 car, but I did my best. We're number 69. And the bottom's got this nice little pattern on it. It's all fancy. But yeah, we've got our own little themed car. So it's for sure not the most beautiful thing ever, but I like it. I wanted to paint something for our show. So that's that. We are.
Are we done with arts and crafts?
We'll
now?
move on to the next one.
just messing with you. Yeah. So I was gonna do a few of the quick ones because I want to save the real drama ones for later.
Yeah.
Or not later, but just later in the order. So quick. Williams. Not much happened with Williams. Albon 15th, Latifi 16th. Alfa Romeo. There was a cool little clip of Bottas helping Zhou Guan Yu during the sprint, I believe it was. He was on the radio saying tell
Latifi.
Zhou to attack into turn 10 because whatever the case may be. As opposed to what Max and Perez did. Bottas finished 9th in the points and Zhou 12th. So decent for them. Aston Martin. There was a little bit of drama with Aston Martin. Very, very dangerous move by Lance Stroll on Seb. If Seb wasn't as experienced of a driver, he literally pushed him onto the grass. I could have if his tire catches there and he spins, that could have ended really, really badly. And Seb handled it well. He just kind of okay or whatever it was. Stroll got I think 10-second penalty and
my lord, him and Gasly are heading towards race bans.
Yeah. So and then who else didn't have McLaren? Ricciardo, I mentioned his crash.
Yeah.
Lando, he's been sick a lot lately. He had a bit of a crash with Charles that he kind of spun Charles out of nowhere. He got a 5-second penalty for that. And then on lap 51, his car lost power. He said that he felt lucky that his car lost power because he didn't think he was going to make it to the end of the race, which is a little scary. They got to figure out what's going on with him health-wise. And then who else we got? McLaren, let me say Red Bull. AlphaTauri, an interesting situation with the FIA messed up on another thing this week. The Yuki Tsunoda where he was unable to lap himself. That was just weird. He kind of just had to pull off to the side and let everyone go ahead under the safety car because the FIA, they didn't let him get to the back of the pack, so he was just literally in fifth. And then they were letting him go again. So he just kind of had to pull to the side and let everyone go ahead.
He did it nicely,
him,
to his credit. It's just big surprise.
Oh, yeah, he did do it
fucking
nicely.
Dumbasses.
Yeah. FIA. Gasly 14th, Yuki 17th. Alpine had quite a bit of drama between They're two fiery fellas. Ocon versus Alonso. So in the sprint race, they collide, as they've collided many times this year. They both ended up getting penalties that race. Alonso called out Ocon on the radio.
Yeah, they did.
They ended up both having really good races.
Sure.
They bounced back. Alonso 5th, Ocon 8th. But there's some
we got taken out
that were
by
kind of
our friends.
interesting from everyone. Yeah, everyone on the team had kind of interesting quotes. So yeah, Alonso vented about referring to Ocon as our friend and saying there was a pattern of crazy defending. He also said he didn't need to speak with Ocon to clear the air because there's just one race left and it's over finally. To which Ocon confirmed that they did not discuss it following the race. And then, Ocon said, "There's no tension, but I think it was not too nice what he said in the media. Motivates me even more to beat him next year."
Otmar?
Schaffnauer. That's always a tough one for me. Otmar. Okay, yeah, that one always gets me. He was saying, "I read where he said I want to drive the green car. That's not too far off. He'll get his wish soon. We wish him luck. But he's a professional. Thereafter, he'll be free to drive the Aston or the green car, as he said. We wish him luck, but not too much." So a little bit of shade thrown there. And then the Alpine CEO said that through their debrief that he told Alonso and Ocon that should anyone else in the Alpine team have behaved like this, they would have been let go for gross misconduct. So, I mean, I guess who else would have possibly done something like that?
What a dumbass
guys
quote.
got to go on track, but yeah, it doesn't seem like a very good atmosphere over there in Alpine. So I guess maybe Alonso making the right decision, but him.
It's
racing
funny that he says he's
not
excited to race in the green car with how lackluster that car has been. I mean, the Alpine is better this year for sure, but I think he's just excited to get the fuck out of there. The pre-race grid sort of interview that they did with Otmar was really funny to me because they just kept asking him are they gonna crash into each other in the race, and he's like, we have told them, no matter what, do not crash into each other. That's the main thing, and just have a safe race. And they did. They both came back really, really nicely. So Alpine seems to be able to do that. They've been able to get some decent results, but of course Fernando has just been plagued with reliability issues, which, what else is new?
Yeah, they've had pace, but even going back to, I think it was the very first race of the year when those two were just going at it in Bahrain. So yeah, I guess it's a good thing that relationship's ending. But now we can get to a little bit more of the good stuff. So Mercedes, first George, bit of a cheeky move with his crash in quali. Now knowing what we know, that some people apparently crash on purpose. So if you watch back, so he caused a red flag, which gave Magnussen pole, but George got third. When there would have been enough time for other guys to get laps in, and it would have changed up. He definitely wouldn't have finished third. But if you watch the replay back, he goes off track into a bit of a gravel area, but then he gets onto the runoff where he could have just driven himself back, but then he does a weird little spin thing and puts himself back into the gravel, which gets his car stuck. Now, I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but knowing what we know now, it does seem to be an issue that's perking up a lot, that drivers have said a lot this year. You can't just let someone that causes the red flag or yellow flag to have that lap, their fastest lap stand. But that was one little thing. And then Lewis had his lap 1 incident with Max, which we'll get to in a sec. Russell, first win, won the sprint and the race. Some good post radio and stuff. He was obviously very emotional. Happy for him, I guess. He did drive very well, holding off Lewis, keeping him outside of DRS at the end. I don't know how much they were actually going to go head to head. It would have been interesting to see. They said race, you can race but be respectful, which is kind of code for don't really race. But that's pretty much that from Merck. Is there anything that you want to comment on before I get to Red Bull? Because that's where the meat of the
now
issue
that Mercedes are in a position to actually fight, it's going to be interesting to see how. I mean, Lewis has said there's not going to be any issues between him and George, but it's going to be fun to see those two actually fight for a win, because Lewis, due to the damage, was losing 2 or 3 tenths per lap, so he wasn't really able to. I think he definitely went with the safer option just to sort of hold P2 and let George have his first win, which is really cool. But I'm excited to see how they sort of go at it in the future.
Yeah. Which brings us to the main event. Red Bull, I mean, just an absolutely awful weekend from start to finish. The sprint, Max is the only one, at least the only one at the top that goes out on mediums. Kind of just like a very unforced error that we haven't seen. Like, I was just saying, like, I was sarcastically. It almost seemed like it was too easy for him winning every race, and he wanted to go on mediums to see if he could win on mediums, because like it was very strange that he was on them. He dropped from second to fourth going into the race, and then lap one off the lights out was pretty clean, but then they did a restart after the little crash. So of course Max and Lewis run into each other going into, I guess, I don't know whether that'd be turn 2, whatever that little first bendy windy one is. We can all picture it right now. I obviously think that it was Max's fault. He got a penalty, and then after the race, he said, I wouldn't have had the pace to win the race anyways, but I ruined Lewis's chance, or I ruined a race win for Lewis. So, I mean, we've seen Max go head-to-head with George and Charles and a couple other people and race pretty cleanly, giving them room. But when it's Lewis, from your perspective, I'm curious, like, he races differently against Lewis is my question to you, correct? And also, what do you think of him saying literally he knew he wasn't going to win, so he's like basically satisfied that he stopped Lewis
I mean,
winning? What do you think of that quote?
It's hard to, sort of keep up the, Max is a badass and plays by his own rules, because I just have not really liked how he's sort of held himself this whole weekend. So yeah, that quote definitely, is in bad taste to me, because I mean, what are you bragging that you fucked up? Exactly. It's just, yeah.
It's like, what is, he has such a different,
it's strange.
Like,
it's definitely weird. This whole weekend is just odd for Red Bull. I mean, Max especially, I mean, we've seen sort of this attitude before, but I mean, we can just get into the whole Sergio thing, I guess. Max, Sergio, I mean, I guess Sergio let Max by. Max, it looked like he overtook a little earlier than he was supposed to. Big surprise, and kind of went down the inside at turn 1, but he went by cleanly, could not pass Fernando, and was told in Red Bull's PR statement that they just released about this whole incident, they actually said that Max was told too late on the last turn. That's not true. Max was told 3 or 4 turns before the final turn to let Sergio back by if you're not able to get past Fernando. And he was told multiple times, and he just did not. He obviously just ignored the team orders, which, that in of itself is not great when you just blatantly defy your engineer and your team. But then he went on to, have that quote, being like, look, we talked about this over the summer, and I don't have the exact quote, but he was just like, I told you never to ask me that. And then he was like, do not ever ask me to do that again. And that, like, when that happened, it was just like pandemonium on the internet, because it opened like such a can of fucking worms for Red Bull, because then, obviously that pissed off Sergio, and it led to speculation about why wouldn't Max do that? What happened over the summer? Like, what did they talk about? And sort of the big theory is that Max is upset still about Sergio crashing in Monaco, which led to him finishing P3 and Max P4 in quali behind the Ferraris, which of course led to Perez getting the win the next day. So we don't know if that's true, though. Obviously, we don't know if Sergio crashed on purpose. So people have been like looking at data, analyzing like mad fucking scientists, but we don't know. And we also don't know if Max is actually still pissed because of that. We don't know. Because, I mean, 2 or 3 months ago, he was quoted saying that him and Sergio were like good friends and that they were very close. So it's just very strange to, have this just suddenly just out of nowhere, these two just sort of have such a disregard for one another. It is like it came out of nowhere. Like if you had asked me like who were like the closest teammates, I mean, obviously they try to build up the buddy thing, but like they seem to get along fine, but apparently not, because their whole dynamic has just like completely gone out the window, and it's caused extreme tension. And yeah, obviously Red Bull put out their PR quote, but I mean, I'll just say I think the whole thing is just embarrassing for Red Bull. I do think you can talk about the Sainz quote here in a second, but I think obviously if you crashed on purpose, that is like that should be unacceptable. But again, you just don't know if that is the case. That's sort of the big issue. I think as someone who has supported Max for the last 2 years, it is super disappointing just to see his attitude, because Perez has done so much for him. He held off Lewis in Abu Dhabi last year, and he's listened to team orders every time this year. He was able to get his own wins, but he's been a good teammate, and Max to just disregard that like entirely is very disappointing as a Red Bull fan. And we'll see going forward, but yeah, I mean, it makes you question like why am I cheering for this guy? Like, it's I mean, some people will say like this is what like broke you, but I mean, yeah, it is, because it sort of hit that next step of asshole, which previous world champions, I mean, Michael Schumacher, Senna, whoever, none of them were nice guys. They're not super. I mean, Lewis, could definitely is arguably the nicest champion, but it's not like mandatory to be like a nice guy. But he just took it to a new level, and yeah, I'll let you elaborate if you'd like. That's really all I have to say about the whole thing, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, just want to add a little bit more background. So when Perez came across the line, like, yeah, you mentioned when Max said that he was never going to do that again, or never to ask him about that. But Perez also came over. Horner came on, which he doesn't usually, to Perez's radio, and like was profusely apologizing to Checo, and then Checo responded by saying, "Well, that just shows the type of person that just shows who he really is." So obviously, there's more behind the scenes to like why this happened. And then in terms of the Monaco thing, and then also like the reason, I guess we didn't really say, it's probably most people listening would know, but the reason it's such a dick move that Max didn't let him pass back through, because Max has locked up the championship. Everything, it doesn't matter if he gets one more point, two more points. Whereas for Checo, he's tied for second, so it actually makes a huge difference for him to get that extra 1 or 2 points. And after all of Perez is done, he like said in his post-race interview, like, after all I've done for Max, like I think he even literally said
he did say
he has 2 world championships because of me, which is a little bit of an exaggeration. Like when you can make the case last year for sure. Like I saw a list of like 7 or 8 times where he like really helped Max last year, and with how close it was, like, yeah, you can make the case, especially in Abu Dhabi when Max, like, Checo is a legend, like he helped a lot there. So there's that. Max said, or maybe not Max said, but it seems like from what people were reporting, that Max told people that Perez admitted to Christian Horner and Helmut Marko after Monaco at some point that he did do it on purpose. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's people that have been in Red Bull's camp that have never really gotten things wrong with Red Bull that knew it. And another kind of weird thing is that this one guy that's close with Red Bull, right when the race ended, he said, like, he tweeted out, this has to be to do with Monaco, and then on the broadcast, Brundle said, no, this must be to do with Monaco. So it could be one of those like open secret things in the paddock that people know, and like I don't know whether it's actually true or not. If you look at the video of it, like, we're not engineers or whatever, I don't know how to, but there is a difference in the laps between how he turned into that corner. But I'm not going to say he did it on purpose. I certainly hope he didn't, but it certainly seems like Max thought he did, or I don't know, there's something more there. I heard someone else say that they had heard that it was simply that Sergio had asked the team to like basically give him the win in Mexico, like do everything they can to help him win in Mexico for his home race. And Max wasn't happy about that. But that doesn't line up with the last summer comment. So
Sergio even said, they said at Mexico that there will be no gifts given to Sergio. So
right, yeah. So I don't believe that one. That one was from one of the guys that's like in the not a reserve driver, but down the pecking order. But anyways, then obviously this blew up online, Reddit, Twitter, everything. Max's mom chimed in to say that this was also the weekend that Checo cheated on his wife. Which is just a low blow to throw that in there right now.
Are fucking cold people, bro. They don't give a shit.
They don't hold punches back. Yeah. Yeah, and then Red Bull released their statement today saying, like, basically that's all good. They made a few mistakes, but they're moving on, which no one's going to let them move on. And then Max, of course, in the most predictable thing of all time, said that it's the media's fault for making him look bad. Which
it's classic.
Just is the furthest thing from the truth. Like, you can't piss on someone's leg and tell them it's rain. I think that's the quote. But yeah, just it's still growing day by day with everything that's coming out. So once the season's over, we're probably gonna get more. One day, Christopher Horner will write a book, and I'm sure this will be a chapter. But I don't know if I think Checo also said in his interview, like when he was mad, he said that, like, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, if he doesn't get assurances that this isn't going to happen again, there's no reason for him to keep racing. So, yeah, as we mentioned, might be the perfect time for Danny to slide in there as the reserve driver. So yeah, lots there for 1 week of Red Bull, like on the track, off the track, after the race, just brutal. And now they're getting to Abu Dhabi, so I mean, the media's not going to not ask them questions about it. Like, they were the ones that brought it into. It's not like someone leaked a story. Like, they were the ones that said it on their radio. You can't then be like, oh, we're not talking about it. You guys are being mean. Like, come on. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have on the Red Bull drama. Just an absolute delight for me to see this. As I said, it's been a whole year of shit, and this is just, I love it. I love it. Just going on Reddit and refreshing the page every 2 minutes. just great. This is part of the allure of F1 is all the drama and behind the scenes stuff. Just as we get to the off season. So, anything else you want to add before I read a few of these Carlos Sainz quotes? That's it.
No.
Yeah, not a great weekend for your boys, but I mean, setting up to make next year just absolutely fascinating. So, yeah, we're almost an hour, so I'm gonna go through this quick. But basically, Carlos Sainz headline: deliberate crashes more common in F1 than you think. But yeah, there's a lot of quotes in there. On Perez, he basically said, I'm not going to comment on whether it was on purpose or not. I think all 20 drivers and ourselves, when we analyze these kind of incidents, we know immediately whether the driver has done it on purpose or not because we are not stupid. I'm not going to comment. It's an incident of the past. I'm just going to say that if there would be a rule, it wouldn't even go through your head. Asked if he's willing to give any examples of deliberate crashes, Sainz said, I can go over drinks and dinner with you guys, and without a mic, I can tell you. Basically went on to say there's a bunch of instances where they know that it's happened on purpose. Obviously, there's been a few famous ones with Nico Rosberg, Michael Schumacher. But yeah, pretty spicy. That making everyone go back now and look through. Like, yeah, this kind of Red Bull has really opened up a bit of a Pandora's box here. I do think the FAA or whatever the governing body is going to have to make some sort of rule before next year to change this, because now that it's like in the ether, like, guys will start to strategize this now. Like, if you're on a shitty team, why not go out early, get the best time, and then cause a red flag? Like if you know that you can get away with it. Like, someone might take advantage of it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Holy shit. I didn't think about that, but wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. On to Abu Dhabi. Season finale. One quick thought. I know I've been speaking for a while. One quick question. So, if last year would have ended, like, we can look back in hindsight, if last year would have just ended the way that everyone agrees that it should have ended, with Lewis winning, then this year goes the same way, with Max just dominating. I'm curious, because now everyone looks at Max as this, like, dominant, two-time world champ, like, most talented guy, best driver on the grid, asshole, ugly, but a good driver. And I'm curious if you, like, this is a serious question, do you think if Lewis had won last year that people would kind of be looking at Max a little bit differently, because clearly they just have the far and away best car this year, and maybe that's like, do you think he'd be getting as much credit for being this, like, incredible driver if he didn't have like that 2-time world champ?
I think so. I definitely think like Red Bull love to put, and the media love to say like 2-time world champ, but I mean, he's still like, even if like let's say Lewis had ended up winning, he's still, I mean, like that was one of the most epic F1 battles across the season. So yeah, I definitely still think he would still be getting like the same recognition, but maybe he already feels like he has like such an insane reputation, so maybe that would be a little staved off. But yeah, I definitely still think people would like still rave about his driving.
Yeah, it's just, I think like a lot of it got not forgotten, but because he won the title, it doesn't get looked back on how much of a little bitch he was in the last few races last year. Like, not only Brazil pushing Lewis off, then the Jeddah like crashing right into the back of Lewis, and and then how much they would have complained after Abu Dhabi if they didn't win that. So I don't know. And then now with this stuff, like I think it would have had a bit of, but I agree. Like he still has like the amount of race wins and podiums and poles and all that. So he's still like, I just think he wouldn't be like launched into the stratosphere that he seems to be in now. But yeah, that's really all I had. We can get to Abu Dhabi. Just looking down, I know there's a few pretty close battles for constructors and drivers as well. So Mercedes and Ferrari, 19 points between them. 19 points between Alpine and McLaren for 4th. 5 between Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin for P6. And 2 points separate Haas and AlphaTauri for P8. Whether those teams will be able to get 2 points remains to be seen. But yeah, there's lots to.
Who's leading with Haas and Tauri?
Standings. Obviously,
good.
Let's see. I think Haas. Yeah. Let me just double check that. But on the drivers, obviously, we have the battle for second. Those guys are tied, which is crazy that after a whole year, like Leclerc and Perez are tied. But it's interesting that I haven't really seen. I just kind of doing the math quick, making sure I'm not making an idiot statement here. If George Russell wins and gets fastest lap, and Charles and Perez don't get any points, George Russell could finish second this year.
Imagine.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So like that's nuts. That's basically the main one, though. Battle for second. Down the grid, like Hamilton and Sainz are pretty close for 5th.
Right.
Lewis still could catch George, but not likely. Ocon and Alonso, interesting battle for 8th and 9th. 5 points ahead is Ocon, so Alonso's going to want to get that back, that's for sure. Vettel is 1 point ahead of Ricciardo for 11th. Magnussen's 2 up on Gasly for 13th, and then the whole bottom's obviously close, so they don't get very many points. But yeah, like a lot to watch aside from just watching Red Bull implode and seeing if that continues. Obviously, I'm interested to see if Mercedes' dominance from last weekend continues. Yeah, it is exciting. Do you want to read off the times for the weekend?
Right now.
Got it.
Of course. Yeah, of course, all of our times are in Eastern, Northern, Eastern Standard, yeah. So
Eastern Standard.
If you're on the East Coast, FP1 is at 5 a.m. November 18th, FP2, 8 a.m., FP3, November 19th, 6 a.m., and then quali is at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and of course the race the next day, 8 a.m. I am so hyped to see both, and if you go to the Formula 1 subreddit, you will of course see the Donka Seb. They've got the new profile picture and the banner, so it's all about Sebastian Vettel this weekend. You fucks better vote him driver of the day. It's got to happen.
Yeah, better. I mean, unless like Danny gets a podium or something, like I don't see it. It's got to be Seb. Yeah, not too much else. We got first Grand Prix here was 2009, 58 laps, 5.281 kilometers, lap record 126.
I was looking at that.
Info. The betting odds are a little bit interesting. First time in a long time, Max hasn't been like less than a 2-1 favorite. So you can actually make money if you bet on Max this weekend. Lewis right behind him. So Max 2.25, Lewis 3.5 to 1, George Russell 4.5 to 1. Charles Leclerc is 11 to 1.
Yeah,
so
That's a good bet. I would place that.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest change that we've seen. Max is usually like 1.4, 1.5, so that's a big change. Yeah, definitely interested to see. It would just be so cool to have finally a 3-team battle, or even a three-driver battle at the top. We had lots of cool battles last week, but just a race.
Yeah, that would be
a battle
ideal.
at the top would be just so sick. And anytime Max and Lewis are on track within like a couple car lengths of each other, it's electric. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got, other than I absolutely kicked your ass in the Haas League.
That's real bad.
I'm not going to go through the points off you. Just know that I just destroyed.
To give our final standings after Abu Dhabi, but yeah, took an L on that one. But we're going to regroup and looking strong for 2023. I'm looking for my W. We're coming in hot.
Yes. All right, my friend. I think that's all we got.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's hope Lewis can finally get that win.
They're back.
That's it.
And Ferrari
is back.
Never was here. All right, so thank you all so much for listening or watching. Make sure to check us out on Twitter, if that's still around, and TikTok and Instagram at HarderSoftF1. And you can watch us on YouTube, HarderSoft F1 Podcast, also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please rate and subscribe and like and do whatever you can do if you like this show, because literally if one person goes and likes all of our shit and subscribes on everything, if like 1 or 2 people do that, like it literally boosts our shit like you don't even realize. So please do that if you enjoy the show. If you don't like the show, stop listening and just ignore us. And we will see you guys next week for our 2022 season finale. Bye, guys.